Hello and welcome to Crossover Event. Wait, it's not Halloween. What am I doing?
Yeah, what's the Dracula?
I know it's like I was
or
usually,
the Svengoolie.
Yeah, right. I would usually save that for the that time of year because now it's when is it? It's April, right?
It's April.
It's April.
We're far from Halloween.
Yeah, but now we're at that point where there's so much out there. There's so many streaming networks. There's so many movies that are trying to get put out there that horror isn't restricted anymore to October. In fact, generally, I found that if a horror movie or horror thing is scheduled for October,
it never comes out at that time.
well, no, it's probably going to be one of the worst of the whole year.
That's true.
Like 9 times out of 10, you're like, oh, that one's scheduled for October? That's going to suck.
Yeah, it used to be October, and now it's
January and February.
It's everything, everywhere, all at once.
Look, every day is Halloween. Bauhaus said so.
No, Susie and the Banshee said so. Just... Wait, wasn't? No, Ministry.
Ministry.
Oh my God.
God damn it.
If you guys can't get this right, then what hope is there for the rest of us?
Harris and I like dark stuff. We're just old. We can't remember it. Which reminds me, this is Crossover Event. I am Chris Cox from oneofus.net, and joining me is Dr. Nerdlove, Harris O'Malley.
Hey, everybody.
And Martin Thomas from Double Toasted.
Hello. So what are we talking about this week?
Well, this week we're talking about one of the big trailer drops, and we're not just talking about this movie, the series in exclusion of the trailer and the picture of what the new series is going to be. We're talking about it in its entirety. What influenced it, what has been influenced by it, and what to expect from the new season. And we're talking about Stranger Things 4. Mm-hmm. They don't put season on there. They just say 4, like as if they're movies.
Sure.
Yeah.
That way, like, you can't say, like, well, this is the last one. It's like, yeah, it's never the last one.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we saw the trailer. At this point, they've replaced everybody in the cast. Oh, no, they
just got older.
They just hit puberty, and they look completely different
It's called Stranger Things 4 because it's been 4 years, I think. No, I don't. It feels like it has. Well, they're still all in high school. But this is many, many years later, Stranger Things 4, where a lot of shit has happened since the last one, where stuff went down, characters died. Well, a character died.
Yeah, a character.
And another character, like one of the major characters of the show, David Harbour, died. But they made clear very shortly afterwards, no.
Well,
they didn't even make it to the end of the credits before they're like, oh, by the way.
I know.
Yeah.
I sat there with my daughter. We watched it. We teared up. And it's like, wait, he's not really dead.
Yeah, well, they have to keep him up. Okay, so like one of the many influences on the show, which we'll be discussing this week, is Indiana Jones.
Okay.
And for them, David Harbour is their Indiana Jones.
Oh.
And they've expressed that by like, he is the no-nonsense guy. He is the one character who's like, let's just face this head on. And he's the only guy who punches people. And they promised 100% more punching this season from David
He's also
Harbour.
the grumpiest.
He is the grumpiest. He is
the most Harrison Fordiest.
I'm getting too old for this shit.
I mean, you gotta love somebody who looks at like interdimensional warfare with creatures from the Eldritch Dark and goes, oh, for God's sake. I don't have enough coffee for this.
The point is he survived. He's in a Russian prison, gulag, perhaps you'd say. His head is shaved. It's a shitty situation, but it looks like it's sort of a gladiatorial thing from the trailer because they have him like lighting a spear on fire and like taking on a demigorgon.
Is it not weird that he was in a Russian gulag in the last movie we saw him in?
Black Widow? Black Widow. Maybe
and
it's
also
just his
getting
thing.
fiery weapons to kill interdimensional creatures in the previous movie he was in.
Wow, that's maybe everybody's got like their thing. He's
thing.
like, that's my thing. Imagine trying to explain that at a dinner party.
Yeah, right.
Well, kind of my niche is. That's where I come from on this. But the new trailer reveals a lot of new stuff. Like, for instance, the Byers family, which is Eleven and her adopted family, Winona Ryder and what have you, they have said, well, screw this. We're moving out of this town in, what is it, Indiana? I think?
Hawkins, Indiana.
Which, I mean, you don't need supernatural shit coming at you to
move
do
out
that.
of Indiana.
I mean, our friend Brian Salisbury from Junk Food Cinema did that, and that was just for the Fantastic Fest. They're like, screw it. They go to California. But what's weird is everybody else is still in Hawkins, Indiana.
That is weird.
This is going to start as sort of a split season with like, okay, so all these other characters, they're much more grown up because several years have passed because they have to.
Sure.
They're so much older now. And there's this whole thing in the trailer. We're not really sure what it means per se, but there's a character that's going to be played by Freddy Krueger.
Robert Englund.
Robert Englund, called Victor Creel, which is the most horror movie name
Which
ever.
I was like, wait, isn't that Sabretooth?
No, it's
right.
Sabretooth and Crusher Creel.
Crusher Creel, yeah, the absorbing
Funny
man.
you say that. There actually is apparently a big X-Men influence this season. The first episode is called the Hellfire Club.
Oh my god.
So I'm just saying it might actually be relevant in a sense.
Okay.
But so we don't know what he's playing. The Duffer Brothers who created the show have been very quiet about it, but we do know that they've said he's an extremely pivotal part of this. I think in the trailer it was him we saw with his eyes cut out. I think. But
Okay.
anyway, it looks like a haunted house season. That's the kids investigating a big old haunted house. And that's apparently the Creel house.
Okay.
So related to him in some way. So it's like ghost story-ish. Why that's happening? Why you would even do that after you've been through all this other shit?
Because it's a Spielberg thing.
It's I guess. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, once you fought the Demogorgon and the Mind Flayer and all the rest of that crap, it's like, yeah, why aren't we just the Ghostbusters now?
Yeah, I mean, which has obviously been a huge influence throughout this thing in terms of like both them saying like this was our favorite movie period growing up, and I mean, they all wearing the outfits on the Halloween episodes.
Finn Wolfhard literally being in Ghostbusters.
In Ghostbusters,
Yeah, and
the new Ghostbusters. I won't say stealing, but borrowing liberally from Stranger Things.
Well, a lot of things have borrowed liberally from Stranger
so
Things.
many things.
Certainly.
So many things.
I mean, because this was I'm not sure if it's Netflix's like biggest ingrown hit. Like I'm eliminating stuff like Squid Game and stuff that they were like, okay, we're buying this, but stuff that they produced themselves directly. I think this might be their biggest thing.
Honestly, I mean, outside of what was it, House of Cards, I think Stranger Things has brought them more subscriptions than probably anything else they've aired.
And I suspect their numbers are going to go way up, at least temporarily, for Stranger Things 4, because a lot of people have been like, oh, I've seen people say, I'll renew my Netflix when Stranger Things come back.
Sure.
I will not miss what happens to this story. Everybody loves Millie Bobby Brown, who plays Eleven, the psychic character, very and obviously influenced by Carrie and Firestarter. And I would go so far as to say the movie The Fury, if you ever saw that, which was kind of a knockoff of Carrie, almost a pseudo-sequel, if you will.
I mean, I would also say, like, she's Jean Grey. They had her go Dark Phoenix.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
There's so many influences that happen in here, but before we get totally into that, I just want to finish up with what's going on in this trailer, because we are seeing a lot of new stuff. We're seeing Eleven saying, I've lost my powers, but also in the trailer we go, well, clearly you haven't lost your powers.
I know.
Because you're blowing some
It's like,
shit.
wow, that took about 10 seconds.
I lost my powers. Ow! Oh!
Then 5 seconds later, Max is floating, so like, okay, maybe Max found him under the cushions.
We're seeing this new creature, Demo Bats, which is what they're calling it, said Demogorgon Bats, whatever. Apparently there are a lot of those. Apparently this is the season that has the most amount of screen time for the underneath of any of the seasons. Because last season had barely any at all.
True.
And this season they're like, okay, people actually bitched about that, so we're going deep under the underneath. But I'm super excited about new villain Vecna, which is based very obviously on Pinhead from Hellraiser. I mean, he even says, your suffering is about to end, where it's like suffering being the key phrase, which is a Hellraiser thing.
Yeah, it's like you kind of wait for him. It's like, your suffering will be legendary even in hell.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay, well.
It sounds like the Duffer Brothers just got all their friends and relatives and went to the graveyard of the 80s and gave everybody shovels and said, dig.
Dig. Well, they don't stop, right? There's always been a lot of stuff in the previous seasons of where you're like that and that and that. In fact, those guys have been more than willing to do any number of videos online talking about, well, these are influences and here's where it happens. I mean, prepare for this show. I watched 3 of them just going, look at that, that's from that, look at that, that's from that. But the new season as well, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're like, okay, that is specifically from things. And there's some that are more recognizable in the trailer, but there's a lot that you're like, huh? That they and the writers' room have specifically called out. Now, Alien 3 and The Great Escape are 2 that David Harbour has said, I know for sure these are big influences. But you have to remember the scenes that David Harbour is actually in the movie, which are him escaping from a prison.
Yes.
And both those are prison escape movies.
That's true.
So
With the shaved heads and everything.
But a lot, the writers were doing this thing where every week they were putting out a list of 5 new influences that they said were like of movies that were involved in
You
the
can't
script.
call us on it because we'll call
We'll call
ourselves out.
ourselves on it. But one of the big ones was Maximum Overdrive, so I think we can assume intelligent cars.
Well, they've been pulling from Stephen King from day one.
Well, the Stephen King has always been all.
And it's
over
been
this.
Stephen King from the very font they use for the logo.
Yeah.
Fast Times in Ridgemont High. And now high school stuff has always been a big thing as well. Like John Hughes, they've always said for the high school based level of this, that was one of their big influences.
You know, of all the high school movies, that's the one that's mostly my high school movie. It's that and The Breakfast Club.
Which John Hughes?
Sorry,
Fast Times.
Fast Times. Yeah, Fast Times.
That was your skull. I know. Yeah. Well, there's a character in here directly based on Jeff Spicoli, the Sean Penn character here. That's called Eddie Quinn, and you see him in the trailer playing the guitar. He's described as
he's that guy.
a stoner Dungeons and Dragons nerd,
Yeah.
and you're like, okay, I welcome this.
Yeah.
I kind of want to see who that guy.
I just love the fact that in the middle of the trailer, there he is from just like in the middle of a Ronnie James Dio album cover, just rocking out. It's like, well done, sir. At the end of the apocalypse, yeah, why not? Just a little heavy metal, little Iron Maiden for you.
As well, they've named Hellraiser 2, as I said before, because that new villain named Vecna is clearly based on Pinhead. The Fisher King, I don't know where.
Wow.
Bill and Ted's, and they were specific about this, Bogus Journey. Not the original.
Okay.
So what does that mean?
Oh, that means death.
Station. So I'm curious what all this means, but I guess we're gonna watch it play out. And like a lot of the influences on Stranger Things, ultimately they never dominate the narrative.
True.
They're just so many and they're so integrated in it. They're not like, stop the thing and look at that. They're more like, oh, these are aspects brought in.
Yeah, they don't do the full-on member berries or the nostalgia juice for it. It's just like, yeah, there's adding a little bit of flavor so that if you know, but they're not going to sit there and call it to a dead stop like something like Free Guy, where it's just like, hey, they're doing a Fortnite dance. Hey, it's the portal gun. It's like,
Yeah.
It makes you realize how tricky it is to pull that off. Because, like with Pulp Fiction, say there's so many influences and things that you can go through, but when you're watching it, you're just enjoying it for how great it is.
Well, to be fair, when I saw that, I had never seen most of the influences from it because Quentin pulls from kind of obscure stuff a lot of the time.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day. We were like, now we know about more of
yeah.
them, but then I was like, I don't know, this is all new to me.
But yeah, Harris, you're absolutely right. It is one where you follow the great narrative, and if you're somebody younger who doesn't know what it's coming from, you still enjoy it almost as much as somebody who does.
It's incorporated organically. I can't help but think one of my favorite influences on the original season especially is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. There's a lot of Spielberg in here, unsurprisingly, and there's a sequence where like you see like the door with like light glowing through it and it slowly opens, and that is like right out of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, as are a lot of the scenes with like the sky lighting up and stuff. You're like, oh, at no point do you go, this is just ripping off Close Encounters.
Right.
Because you're too involved in the narrative. It's just it's a visual idea that's brought into it. And most of these ideas are just that.
well, it's like every scene they have with the kids going through the woods or going through a dark building where you got the God rays coming through. It's like, all right, yeah, we get it. You like Spielberg.
Yeah, as well as we said, Stephen King, and obviously one of the big influences here with Stephen King have to do not just with the psychic people like the Firestarter and Carrie, but with the groups of kids dealing with a supernatural situation together, or just a situation like Stand By Me was obviously a huge influence on this, as was It.
Well, yeah, you got some of the kids from this series in the It movie, and now with this fourth season. They've grown up, they've separated, but now they have to come back to their original hometown to fight the evil.
Yeah.
I mean, did I just read the back cover of It to tell you?
I think you're right, pretty much.
Yeah.
There's all that is there, but it is such a. I think it's because it's such a giant stew of influences that you never feel like you're really not just knocking.
You're
off
not
one
just
thing.
in that. Also, if we're gonna be honest, Stranger Things is kind of better than the It movies.
Yeah, no, I gotta give you that one.
You know, I mean,
You don't want to say it,
maybe
but
outside of Pennywise himself, who is a scarier villain than any villain in Stranger Things.
Pennywise is really scary until he's not.
Okay, fair. Yeah, when he turns into a giant spider.
Well, when he turns into a giant spider, or when he's dancing instead of
Yeah.
actually killing people.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
like-
it does that little dance, and then everybody just started remixing it because everyone realized it was in 3-4 times, so they could just put anything to it.
if you're not inherently scared of clowns, like, but that's not one. You're not one of those people who are like automatically bugs you. Then Pennywise is like, you're gonna have to work for this.
Yeah.
Because I grew up watching Bozo.
I never got scared of clowns. They just looked like alcoholics.
Yeah, because they were.
Yeah.
And then you became a bum alcoholic.
And even when you watch it, when Georgie gets killed by Pennywise in the sewer, you're like, well, I mean, I know he's a little kid, but Georgie was kind of an idiot.
Yeah.
If Pennywise hadn't taken him out, something else in life was
as Bill Hicks said, oh no, we lost an idiot. The world's so much lighter now.
I was going to say, this is a kid who would have gotten in the van with a stranger who offered him candies and a puppy.
Yes, exactly. It was only a matter of days. If it wasn't him, it would have been like, Ted Kaczynski or somebody. I don't know. But there's so many little things. I mean, we're talking about the big ones. Of the Goonies, obviously, is a huge influence. For sure, throughout the series. I think atmospherically, Silent Hill is a big thing, as is John Carpenter's The Fog is a big one. And Alien and Aliens, which they regularly call out as one of their biggest influences.
They have Paul Reiser in this as a slightly like ethically dodgy scientist.
It's funny because I always feel like Paul Reiser's done that a bunch, but maybe he just had such a impact with Aliens that I think that he does it all the time, and he hasn't.
I mean, when I think of Paul Reiser, I don't think of his Mad About You. I think of him
as Burke.
Mad About You gets way more interesting if you think of it as being the Burke's origin story.
Now I'm going to.
But no, the Demogorgon was specifically based on both Alien and the alien creature, the xenomorph, and as well, especially in season 3. That mixed with a lot of elements with, according to the Duffer Brothers, their pretty much favorite movie next to Ghostbusters is John Carpenter's The Thing. And you see season 3 has a lot more of creature morphing.
Yeah, there's much more The Thing.
Out of that. But also, one of the other influences people don't really talk about as much in here is that from Carpenter is the score, which is directly all a Carpenter.
The all synthesizer,
completely a Carpenter lift.
It's weird because there's so many people who will take things from the past and just do it to death, and you're like, all right, that's about enough of that. But then you get somebody who does it so well. I used to say this about Lenny Kravitz, where it's like, man, Lenny Kravitz is all about just taking things from the 70s. But he's so good at it.
He's so good
that you can't get mad.
When you watch the video for Are You Gonna Go My Way, and he's literally got the drummer, the female version of the drummer from the Jimi Hendrix Experience playing with it, and you're like, this is just so blatantly I kind of love this.
Bruno Mars does the same thing with New Jack Swing and all the 70s and 80s stuff that he does. It's like, but it's a lift, but I can't be mad at you for it.
It's good. Come on, as long as you're gonna do it well, not be lazy about it, and that's what the Duffer Brothers do.
There's stuff in the I am fairly convinced that the Duffer Brothers have lifted from. They may not even remember that they lifted it from. We were talking about this before we started recording. So much of especially season 3 and some of the stuff in the trailer here reminds me of a New Zealand show that aired on Nickelodeon in the 80s called Under the Mountain.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Which is about a couple of psychic teens dealing with an alien invasion that's in a bunch of tunnels underneath underneath Auckland.
Was that mountain Witch Mountain?
It might as well have been.
The Down Under.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's definitely stuff here that, we all are the product of all the stuff we've experienced and what have you. And these guys, this entire project is on the, just outwardly, yes, this is the stuff that influenced us. But when you're not doing it for I recognize that reference, which they never do.
Because I've become so sick of nostalgia that I just want to throw up anytime I see it or see anybody using it.
When it's just so pointedly remember this?
Or something like Ready Player One, where it's just, it's not even, there's not even a plot. It's just, it's just here, let me pander to everything about that you liked as a kid and make it worse somehow.
Science has discovered when people see things that they recognize from things they love, it sets off dopamine in the brain. And so Steven Spielberg will make a movie adaptation of a terrible novel.
That was that was so Warner Brothers going hey, can we show you a list of all of our IP?
Oh, we did manage to fit these in. What we're going to do? I know, Space Jam 2.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's funny, though, because the Duffer Brothers actually list Super 8 as one of their influences, and I think that's one of those movies that
it totally is.
Where you're you could watch that and go, well, no, they're just doing the same thing that Stranger Things are. It's yeah, but really badly and obviously, where it's just this is directly lifted from
Super 8 is so J.J. Abrams going to Steven Spielberg, Huh? Did I do it right, boss? Are we good? Can we work together?
I kind of feel like Super 8 is kind of like with Poltergeist with Steven Spielberg going like, get out of the way! Let me show you how you do this.
Move. But there are also things like The Exorcist came in, I think, season 2 when Will gets possessed. They go into that, and there's moments that directly you're like, oh, that's from that. Gremlins, where the one kid gets like a little baby Demogorgon.
Oh, that's right.
Remember?
That's right.
Dart.
Yeah.
Where Dart grows up and is
that is very Gremlins.
Yeah.
Yep.
David Cronenberg is obviously a huge influence on a lot of this because there's so much body horror
once you're digging into this mid 80s, you got it.
And also a lot of like just Evil Dead in there and Drag Me to Hell, especially with Sam Raimi and his whole like, all right, we're going to cover someone in slime and shove shit in their mouths.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no. And then weirdly in season 3, this is one of the things I forgot about till I was watching the stuff about this again. I was like, oh, yeah, there is a whole Terminator aspect in it. Because there's the Soviet assassin. Who
that's right.
even looks like young Arnold Schwarzenegger.
We talked about how he was the Terminator, yeah.
I think they called that one out in the movie, in the show itself.
Right, they actually say, oh my God, that guy's the Terminator. But, before we finish this, just want to say there is a lot of stuff that has come out of this going both to good and bad. Hey, I guess we're going to kind of do the Stranger Things thing.
It became something, shorthand for other studios. If you wanted to sell a property, to go like, oh, it's like this.
Stranger Things, but...
Yes, because something I mentioned in our notes was Lock and Key was a graphic novel series that I'd read and really enjoyed and couldn't wait for the show to come on.
Predated Stranger Things.
By several years. And when it did, I was like, wait, you guys just copied Stranger Things.
Yeah, they definitely kind of... And I do like the Netflix series, but there's too much.
Too much.
We need this to be a new Stranger Things.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like if they're going to save that show with the 3rd season, they need to...
And there's also stuff like the comic Paper Girls, which also came up in the notes before that, which is less doing Stranger Things so much as just cribbing from the same sources. But the comparison is inevitable because they're using the same references.
Right. The whole Spielberg thing.
Oh yeah,
and mixing with horror.
But the whole obviously the idea of kids dealing with horror or dealing with a thing is not new per se.
Sure.
But the fact that Stranger Things has really brought it back, like, oh, everybody wants this again now. I don't have a problem with that. I grew up watching those movies too and loving them. So, like, all right, as long as you're doing it well. And I did think Ghostbusters Afterlife, while it's not top notch or anything, it's certainly better than any of the other sequels for my money. And I genuinely enjoyed it because it paid attention to Stranger Things. Its strongest points are like, oh, we listened to what they were doing and found a way to make that be the selling point to reinvigorate Ghostbusters.
Well, now not having seen it, I can't speak to the whole movie, but what I gathered is that unlike so many other sequels, it wasn't trying to be a remake of the first movie.
Yeah, exactly.
It was more of a loving tribute, which is part of what makes Stranger Things work, is that it's paying tribute but putting its own spin on it, as opposed to, here, copy this down, but change it a little bit so the teacher can't tell.
They got software to catch you on that now.
I don't know. Anyway, we got to wrap this one up. I'm excited as hell for Stranger Things 4. I have loved all 3 of the seasons of the show, and I feel like they've just been different enough to like, okay, still liking this. 4 is definitely has the feel of the most amount of like differential. The one thing that I'm being told to watch out for is the grandfather clock. You watch the trailer, there's a lot of a grandfather clock. And apparently, like, part of the thing is if you see the grandfather clock, if one of the characters see it, you're in trouble.
Oh.
As is evidenced by Max, the new character from season 3, the little red-haired girl, who's directly influenced by Mad Max, by the way.
Is she?
Was named after him.
It's funny, I like Max so much in the 2nd season, and I hate her in the second,
3rd. But she's like the character who can drive.
Oh, okay.
So,
Oh, God, I didn't realize that's a lot. Okay.
Yeah. Apparently, it's a Max-heavy season, partially because her brother died in the last one. But, like, we see her, like, levitating in front of everyone in a cemetery, and people are speculating that's because in the trailer, like, she saw the clock.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So watch out for the clock, as we are right now, because we got to wrap up this episode. Okay, I guess we are doing comments this week, after all. You know what? You do the comments. That's fine. He wasn't even on last week's show, but you know what? I had to do the intro, so Martin has to do the comments.
Fine. I don't mind. Here we go from Magic Kerr, our good friend in Portland. I'm also excited for Nope. I did enjoy Get Out, but Us really redefined modern horrors for me, and I love how the movie plays on different kinds of fears while being artistic and visually interesting at the same time.
As we all are.
Yeah.
Can't wait. I mean, anything from Jordan Peele. We did talk about that in the last episode, so
yeah.
Thanks for backing us up, Maciek.
Yeah. No. It'll be interesting to see where he goes with this one.
Yeah, not Maciek, but Jordan Peele. Yeah. I assume you're not involved in the making of it.
I say both.
Yeah.
All right, here's from Famous Thanos. I think Avatar 2 comes out at the end of the year. I'm glad I'm not the only one looking forward to it, though. Oh, okay.
Okay, right, can't wait, but he was joking about it.
Oh, was he joking about it?
He was. I mean, I don't know. It's James Cameron. You should never discount James Cameron. Because the moment you're like, this sounds terrible, it's going to be awful, it makes $1 billion and people love it.
True,
So,
he's done it twice before.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where like, man, even something I really want,
yeah.
if you make me wait this long for it, I'm not interested anymore.
Avatar is one of those ones where it's fascinating to me because it came out and it made such a huge splash and then disappeared from the pop culture entirely.
Completely. The moment someone went,
Yeah.
oh, it kind of reminds me of Fern Gully, everyone's like, ah, shit, it's just a ripoff of Fern Gully.
Fern
I'm like,
Gully
I
and
mean,
Pocahontas.
And Dances with Wolves.
And Dances with Wolves.
I'm like, yeah, but those movies were ripping off earlier things too, so I don't know what to tell you.
But Avatar was a whole experience. You went in, you went to the IMAX and
How
you
do
saw
you-
it in 3D.
How do you do that now? What is
Yeah.
the new experience?
But
Avatar 2
that was the thing. Like once it was out of the theater with the whole experience, and people watched it at home on video, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Wasn't as good.
Yeah.
It was about the 3D, the new version of 3D, and
Mhm.
and it was amazing. I remember
Yeah.
we walked out of it like,
Yeah.
wow, that was like a theme park.
And
Yeah,
now it is a theme park.
Now it is literally a theme park.
yes, with a 3-hour wait. You have to wait longer for the ride than you did to watch the entire movie.
I walked right in, but it was a rainy day, so.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
we were just like, we did Star Wars, like we did the whole thing in like an hour and a half. It was
Oh,
good. It was
wow.
like raining and nobody was there. It was nice.
On that note, our last comment is from Kevin Moreno. I have 3 that I'm really looking forward to this year, which is Lightyear. I'm excited to see how Pixar does an epic sci-fi film. Me too. The Black Phone. It's the return of the Sinister team.
Seen it, but not allowed to say anything yet.
You've seen it?
Oh, I saw it at Fantastic
Oh,
Fest.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I'll tell you after. Sorry,
Alright.
I'm not allowed to say anything yet.
Okay. And hearing how good it is got me excited. And last is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. Do I have to explain why? Yes, you do.
Yeah, well, no, it's Spider-Man No Way Home Part 2.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, like that ends and this movie begins.
Wait,
It's-
hey, will Doctor Strange clear up all the plot holes from Spider-Man No Way Home?
Wait,
too?
there were a lot of plot holes in
Oh,
Spider-Man
Jesus
No Way
Christ.
Home?
There's more plot holes than movie.
Wow. Next week's episode is all about the ways that Martin is wrong about Spider-Man's greatest film.
Dude, I'm not saying I don't like the movie, but it is so full of plot holes.
Okay.
Okay.
There's no reason for Jamie Foxx to be there.
I mean,
That's not a plot hole,
there's
though.
definitely-
No. Okay, the magic is to bring in everybody who knows who Peter Parker is. And he goes like, oh, I thought you were black. It's like, wait a minute. You didn't know who he was? So you shouldn't be here. That is a serious plot hole.
Sorry, it's a funny couple. No, I agree with you towards the in the sense of the bigger like who this thing summons and who it doesn't. There's a lot of like, wait, that doesn't even make any sense. Like anybody who knows that he's Peter Parker, because but I mean, even Strange says the spell's like not even complete. So like if like we don't fix this now, it's going to open up and literally everyone across infinite multiverses is going to show up who knows Spider-Man is Peter Parker, which is infinite. You know, so it's like,
and it sent Michael Keaton to the Morbius universe.
yeah, you're like, wait, what?
I mean, it brought Venom over, and Venom never encountered Spider-Man in the first
Yeah,
place.
exactly. That made that's the part that I called out immediately. I was like, Venom has never even heard of Spider-Man. That makes no sense. Why is he there? So we have a bonus video as well. We're going to talk about our favorite ever kids on a mission movies. Not necessarily horror, but maybe horror. But you can watch that at oneofus.net. If you're a subscriber at the brown coat level or above, you should go there and you should subscribe to Screen Fanatic, which is where this is. Subscribe, like, please leave a comment. If you have to say something that we're really interested in, we'll definitely read it on air and respond to it. We might even visit you in your house. Well, I mean, Martin will.
I will.
Busy.
I totally will.
He's the nice guy. I'm kind of the weird, arrogant.
Yeah, but I won't visit in a nice way.
But
And I'm legally forbidden to leave the state, so.
it's true. But you can visit Harris here at drnerdlove.com.
Indeed.
If you need nerd advice on your romance life. And then Martin, you can see at doubletoasted.com. Me, you can see at oneofus.net. And we'll be back next week with more.